Chihiro recalls the time he gave Rea a ride home, and throughout the journey, neither of them spoke a word. Rea simply enjoyed the trip with Chihiro, as it was the first time she could go out with someone else. Before this, her father had always forbidden her from going out with her friends. Chihiro regrets that moment a little. He should have asked her what she was thinking, or maybe about her hopes for the future. If he had done so, that might have been his last chance to help Rea. Danichiru's rage became uncontrollable when he found out that Rea had secretly left the house to meet Chihiro. When Rea returned, he didn't hesitate to slap her multiple times. He strictly forbade her from leaving the house, even stopping her from going to school. Rea couldn't stand Danichiru's oppressive behavior anymore, so she decided to drink the potion Chihiro had made to resurrect Babu. Rea hoped the poison in the potion would kill her, but unfortunately, things didn't go as she expected. She woke up the next morning and she was ready to head to school, still hoping her father would allow her to go. She went to the dining room to see her father and mother. Rea greeted them and Danichiru welcomed her. Area asked Rea why she had broken her promise and snuck out of the house the previous night. Rea apologized for what happened, saying that she had just wanted to take a walk in the forest to admire the beautiful moon. Area, clearly upset, warned Rea to be careful with her actions, also pointing out that every decision Rea made could affect Area's reputation as the school principal. Danichiru then warned Area not to scold Rea again. Area left the dining room, ignoring Rea. Danichiru apologized to Rea for hitting her the night before. Rea responded by saying it was all her fault and thanked Danichiru for everything he had done for her. Danichiru praised Rea for being a good girl and understanding him. He assured Rea that he was the only one capable of protecting her. Danichiru then asked why Rea was still wearing her school uniform when he had clearly told her the night before that she was no longer allowed to go to school, instructing her to study at home. Rea apologized again and agreed to comply. Suddenly, one of Danichiru's men arrived and asked Rea to leave and change out of her uniform. She left the dining room and Danichiru's men closed the door, as it seemed they had something important to discuss. Rea didn't go far but tried to listen to their conversation from behind the door. Her father's men had discovered the identity of the boy who had been with her the night before. They had learned that Chihiro attended Shiyu High School and was the son of the head priest at Shiryu Temple. Danichiru ordered his men to castrate Chihiro as a warning so that he would never approach Rea again. Rea was shocked to hear this, knowing that Chihiro was in great danger. Chihiro tried calling out to Babu, who was up in a tree. Ranko still couldn't believe why Chihiro made a magic potion to raise the dead and used it on Babu's corpse. She never imagined Chihiro would do such a thing, especially since he's the son of a chief priest. Mero wasn't surprised at all by her older brother's behavior. She had known for a long time that Chihiro was a weird guy who was obsessed with zombies. Still, she didn't expect him to go this far. Chihiro admitted that what he did might have been cruel, but thanks to it, Babu really did come back to life. Wouldn't everyone be happy if their family members came back? Ranko was happy Babu was alive again, but she still wasn't sure if it was truly Babu. Chihiro then pointed out that Babu's meow still sounded the same as before, as Babu was never able to make a normal cat sound when he was alive. But Ranko remained doubtful, especially since Babu now had white eyes and seemed more expressive than before. Chihiro and Ranko continued debating whether this was the real Babu. Ranko was even worried that Babu might attack people like the zombies in the movies and those bitten could turn into zombies themselves. Chihiro, however, was confident that Babu wouldn't behave like that. Suddenly, Babu started running really fast as if chasing something. Chihiro panicked and ran after him, with Ranko following behind. Mero reminded her brother that he had left his bag behind, but Chihiro yelled back, saying it looked like he would be skipping school today. Jagoro, hearing all the commotion, asked Mero what was happening. Mero told him that Chihiro had adopted another cat and managed to bring Babu back to life. Hearing that, Jagoro was overjoyed. Chihiro tried to grab hold of Babu, who was right in front of him, but he failed. He wasn't too surprised, though, since Babu was usually easy to catch. Ranko asked if it was safe to touch Babu with bare hands. They kept following Babu as he ran along the fences of people's houses. Chihiro told Ranko she should just head to school since she probably had sports practice, but Ranko said it was her duty as his older sister figure to keep an eye on him. Eventually, they reached a narrow, long drainage tunnel. Without hesitation, Chihiro went in to keep following Babu. Ranko couldn't believe he was actually doing this. Meanwhile, Rei was sneaking out of her house through the back door, passing through the hydrangea bushes. Area clearly saw her leaving from the window but didn't care. Danikuru passed by and Rea offered him some wine, but he ignored her as usual. Rea knew Danikuru had long since stopped paying attention to her. The tunnel Babu went through was incredibly narrow and long, but Chihiro wasn't giving up. Ranko, reluctantly, followed behind him. Chihiro didn't even know how far the tunnel stretched. Ranko felt the tunnel's walls were scraping against her and her body was getting stuck. She couldn't move at all, but Chihiro ignored her and kept going, leaving her behind. Ranko was frustrated that Chihiro was so focused on Babu and didn't show her the slightest bit of concern. No matter how loudly she shouted, Chihiro kept getting further and further away. Whether he heard her or not, Ranko was furious and called him an idiot. Finally, Chihiro reached the end of the tunnel, which opened up to a lake near a forest below Rei's house. It turned out Babu just wanted to get a drink of water before continuing on his way. Near the school's baseball field, Yasutaka and Moji sat together looking out at the garden. Yasutaka asked Moji if he liked baseball, and it turned out Moji only enjoyed watching it. Then Yasutaka asked if Moji liked girls, and Moji responded with a similar answer, saying he only liked looking at them. Yasutaka, curious, commented that this might be why Moji hadn't made any progress and then playfully started tickling Moji. He poked Moji's chest, making him squirm with laughter. Yasutaka kept teasing him, asking if it felt good, while Moji just laughed, trying to hold in his giggles. Yasutaka seemed to enjoy messing with Moji, but Moji still didn't fully get what Yasutaka was trying to say. Yasutaka mentioned that from where they were sitting, they had a good view of the Sanka High School students. Suddenly, Rei appeared, calling out to them from behind the fence, asking if they had seen Chihiro. Both Yasutaka and Moji were shocked. Yasutaka, especially, was thrown off as he couldn't believe that Rea, the girl he had secretly admired, was actually talking to him. Rea repeated her question, asking for Furuya Chihiro, the first-year student. Moji then told her that Chihiro hadn't come to school yet. Yasutaka, still curious, wondered why Rea was looking for Chihiro. Rea, somewhat nervously, replied that Chihiro was about to be castrated, thanked them, and quickly left. Yasutaka was left in stunned silence, unable to process the fact that Chihiro, of all people, was somehow connected to Rea. Meanwhile, Rea was still searching for Chihiro, feeling anxious after her interaction with Yasutaka. She wondered if she had said something strange. As she continued walking through town, one of Danichuru's henchmen spotted her. The henchman immediately called Danikuru, informing him that Rea was in town. Danikuru instructed his henchmen not to rush into capturing her, but to continue following her. Danikuru was frustrated, not understanding why his daughter was being so stubborn and refusing to listen to him. Rea kept walking until she reached a slope, still searching for Chihiro. At the same time, Chihiro was wandering near the cemetery, trying to find Babu, when he realized that Ranko wasn't with him. He grumbled to himself, wondering where Ranko was since she had said she would watch over him, but now she was nowhere to be found. The sky was getting cloudy, and it looked like it was about to rain. Suddenly, Chihiro spotted Babu in the bushes, eating hydrangea leaves, and was shocked. Chihiro then remembered that this was the same place where Rea had gotten the hydrangea flowers the night before. To his surprise, he then noticed Rea herself limping along the cliff above. Rea thought Chihiro was waiting for her at the old building, so she was heading there, hoping to meet him again. She felt incredibly guilty and didn't want Chihiro to get into trouble with Danikuru because of her. Suddenly, Danikuru called out to her, asking where she was going. Startled, Rea turned to see Danikuru and his henchmen standing behind her. Danikuru calmly suggested that while it was nice to go for a walk in the woods, this was getting a bit far. Chihiro watched the entire scene from below, confused about what was going on. Danikuru tried to coax Rea into coming back home, saying it wasn't too late to forgive her for her actions. He reminded her that she was his daughter, a bright and intelligent girl, and a member of the Sanka family. As he reached out to touch her, Rea firmly pushed him away, telling him no for the first time in her life. This bold move shocked Danikuru. Chihiro, still watching, couldn't understand what they were talking about. Danikuru, stunned by Rea's defiance, asked her to explain her behavior. Rea finally spoke up, telling him that while she knew she was his daughter, that didn't mean he owned her heart and body. All she wanted was a little freedom. Danikuru then asked her what kind of freedom she was looking for. Was it the freedom to leave home or the freedom to love someone? Rea stood silent for a moment, but Danikuru forcefully grabbed her hand, trying to drag her back home. Babu, who had been watching the whole time, climbed up the slope and chased after them. Rea kept begging her father to let her go just for today, but Danikuru firmly refused, knowing that Rea only wanted to meet Chihiro. Babu approached them and Danichiro, startled, called the cat filthy. He became frightened, knowing that he was allergic. As Babu got closer, Danichiro tried to shoo the cat away, terrified his allergy would flare up again. Rea couldn't believe what she was seeing. She shook free of Danichiro's grip and rushed over to Babu, unable to comprehend that the cat had somehow come back to life. Danichiro shouted at her not to touch the dirty animal, but Rea ignored him. She knelt beside Babu, asking if Chihiro had perfected the potion or if perhaps the concoction he made last night really worked. Suddenly, Danichiro stepped forward and tried to whip Babu, but Rea quickly blocked the blow. The whip struck Rea instead, causing her to lose her balance and tumble down the slope. Danichiro panicked, unable to believe what had just happened. Just before she fell, Rea caught sight of Chihiro, but it was too late. Her body crashed onto a sharp rock and then tumbled into a patch of hydrangeas. Bloody, Rea died instantly. Danichiro stood frozen, utterly devastated by the sight of his daughter's lifeless body. As the rain began to pour down, soaking everything in its path, Chihiro rushed to Rea's side, overwhelmed with sorrow. He screamed, begging Rea to say something, desperate for her to still be alive. Chihiro muttered that Rea didn't need to die for real, that what he said earlier was just a joke. But now he realized Rea's request to be brought back to life had been more serious than he ever imagined. He broke down in tears, devastated that he couldn't save her. As he mourned, Babu approached Rea's body and began licking the blood from her hand. Just as Chihiro was about to walk away, he suddenly heard someone call his name. He froze, unable to believe his ears. It was Rea. Her lifeless body was rising, stumbling toward him, softly whispering his name. Chihiro stood in disbelief, unsure of what he was witnessing. He hadn't given her any resurrection potion. None of this made sense. Danichiro's men were equally stunned, unable to comprehend what had just happened to their master's daughter. They tried to calm him down, but even they couldn't explain what they were seeing. Rea slowly approached Chihiro, reminding him that he had promised to take responsibility for her. She then embraced him, her grip gentle but firm. Babu wagged his tail, clearly happy to see Rea back on her feet once again.